What if the major world events we see every day, the conflicts, the economic chaos, the big political moves, what if they're not random at all? What if they're all connected? Today, we are unpacking one really provocative analysis that claims to lift the curtain on a hidden plan that's driving pretty much everything. So let's explore this one theory that honestly challenges everything we think we know.
I mean, it's a question you've probably asked yourself a bunch of times, right? Are our leaders just making a string of terrible mistakes, a series of bad calls, or is there something else going on just under the surface? In this explainer, we're going to walk through one potential answer, an answer drawn directly from our source material that suggests there's a much bigger story playing out.
Okay, so let's be super clear about something right up front. We are not presenting this theory as fact. Not at all. We are simply breaking down the arguments from one specific, detailed analysis so we can all understand its pretty unique perspective on how the world might actually work.
All right, so where does this whole theory even begin? Well, it argues that to understand what's happening right now, we've got to go way back, more than 75 years, to the end of the Second World War. It claims the very foundation of modern Europe was built on what it calls an original sin.
Now check out the contrast on this slide because it is stark. The official story, the one we all learned, is that the EU was this amazing European project, all about peace. But this analysis, it says something completely different. It claims the EU was actually an external project, designed from the very beginning to keep Europe under the thumb of Anglo-American financial and strategic interests.
And the source really goes there. It doesn't pull any punches. It actually names names. It suggests that figures we look up to as the founding fathers of Europe, guys like Jean Monnet and Robert Schuman, were actually, get this, working for foreign powers. Their goal, according to this theory, wasn't to build a powerful, independent Europe, but a controlled one.
Okay, so if this whole structure of control was set up right after the war, you gotta ask, right? How in the world has it been maintained for over 70 years? Well, the theory points to two main tools, money and the strategic use of what it calls manufactured crises. So the first tool is this concept the source calls debtocracy. Here's the basic idea. Our entire financial system is built on money being created as debt. I mean, think about it. When a bank gives you a mortgage, that money isn't just sitting in a vault somewhere, it's literally created out of thin air. And this system, the theory claims, creates a never-ending cycle of debt for people and for entire countries, which gives incredible power to the institutions that get to create the money.
And this timeline really shows off that second tool in action. The analysis connects these huge global events, but it frames them not as random accidents, but as deliberate strategic power moves. Let's just walk through it. First, back in the 70s, you get the petrodollar system, which basically forced the world to use US dollars to buy oil, cementing the dollar's power. Then, the analysis says 9/11 was used to build the legal framework for mass surveillance. Fast forward to 2008, the financial crisis hits, which serves to weaken European economies and make them more dependent. And finally, the war in Ukraine is seen as the knockout blow to prevent a powerful Germany-Russia alliance, which this theory sees as the single biggest threat to this whole world order.
So, where does this decades-long plan all lead? Let's jump to the present day and look at what the source calls the final phase of this whole project. Total information and financial control, all powered by technology.
You ever wonder why there's this huge, intense focus on fighting disinformation all of a sudden? Well, according to this theory, it's not some noble search for the truth. It's a pretext, a justification, to get rid of anonymity online, to make sure every single voice can be tracked and, if needed, controlled.
And that leads us to this pretty chilling roadmap. Now, the key here isn't any single piece of technology, but how they all connect and lock together. Step 1, a digital ID for every single citizen. Step 2, you link that ID to a central bank digital currency, a CBDC. And that combination, the source argues, is the one-two punch that kills financial privacy for good. It opens the door for a social credit system where everything you do is monitored, and your money can be controlled based on your behavior.
The analysis boils this whole endgame down to a really powerful and honestly pretty disturbing metaphor, the creation of a human farm, where we're no longer seen as citizens but as digitally tagged assets to be tracked and managed for the benefit of whoever owns the system.
But here's the twist. Just as this endgame seems to be getting closer, the theory says a really powerful counter-movement is rising up to challenge this whole order, and that's what's causing all the geopolitical friction we're seeing today.
So here you can really see the two competing visions for the world, side by side.
On one side, you've got the established Atlantis model. That's the power structure led by the US and its key allies, which is all based on control through debt and military force. But on the other side, you have this rising model from the BRICS nations, which, according to the source, is all about influence through big infrastructure projects and trade. And they're even talking about a new currency backed by real stuff, like gold and commodities.
And a huge turning point, this analysis claims, was seeing so many nations in the global south just refuse to go along with sanctions against Russia. This wasn't just some political disagreement. It was seen as the first big, collective no, a massive act of defiance against the old order that signaled to the world that, hey, maybe there's a real alternative now.
And so, that leaves us right here with the ultimate question that this entire theory builds up to. Are all the crises we're living through just the painful, messy birth of a new, multipolar world? Or are they the last desperate gasps of an old system trying to lock down total control before it's too late? I guess we'll find out.